You said you wanted the Eagles helmet.
I want an Eagles helmet.
All right, that's fine. Our Lions are not in the mix, so I'll go over to the AFC.
I'm sorry about that, but
Yeah.
I am a Detroit native. Did
Bless
live
you.
in San Francisco for a while.
Yes.
Now live in Philadelphia, so either way I was pretty much going to win.
That's right.
Except for this game coming up. I've never lived in Kansas City. So happy to be here. Stephanie Vandenberg, SVP of Revenue and Growth. I represent the Verve Group. We are a global omni-channel advertising platform, very privacy-centric. We own 3 SSPs, 2 DSPs, an e-commerce platform, and a contextual solution called Visual Intent, which is why we're here. It's a unique contextual targeting product across the web that targets in real time the first 24 hours that content is produced or published, coupled with Getty images. So sports entertainment is big, and some of the biggest brands in the world are taking advantage of that. So that's why we're here. And I'm super happy to be here with Casey. Want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. So I'm Casey Hurbis, I'm Chief Marketing Officer with Rocket Central, Rocket Mortgage in downtown Detroit. Been with the organization 6 years in April already. I was just reminded the average life expectancy of a CMO is 2 to 3 years, so I'm playing in triple overtime, evidently, and it's an amazing. We'll talk a little bit about the company, what have you, and it's an amazing organization, and being part of a company that's part and right at the epicenter of the continued revitalization of one of America's greatest cities is a dream come true for someone like myself that's born and raised in Metro Detroit, and has seen a lot of change in my 51 young years on this earth. But I'm a very much a Detroit kid. Grandparents immigrated to this country, and they the middle class was born in Detroit, and I'm a very typical Detroit kid story of grandparents immigrated to the country, worked in the auto industry, and 3 generations here we are.
So Casey and I've had the chance to catch up and prep for this panel, learn more about one another. Also introduced me to Topgolf, which I didn't know was so cool. So thanks for that.
No problem.
But we do have a couple things in common in addition to loving shoes. I'm also from Detroit, a Detroit native, and I have a passion for that city as well. Similar background story. But it's such a vibrant city that people don't know a lot of things about it. So I'm just going to share some fun facts about Detroit as we're showing our love for the Motown. So Detroit, or Detroit as they call it. Belle Isle Park is the largest urban island park in the country. Mm-hmm. More than 70 feature films and a dozen television shows have been filmed in Detroit. Detroit was absolutely essential in winning of the World War II. Actually, I think my grandfather was based off of Detroit in the Navy, actually.
Jeep, 1941.
Yeah. Yep. Techno music was invented in Detroit.
Born.
Bootleg liquor was the big business in Detroit during Prohibition. Shocking.
They used to wait. They used to wait on Detroit River. That was it was an amazing day when the Detroit River would finally freeze over, and the horses would start bringing the barrels of whiskey across from Windsor, right? And it was a pipeline of whiskey from Windsor.
I think my parents used
Canadian
to
club.
Sneak over to Windsor in high school to drink
19.
because the drinking age
Absolutely.
was different. Yeah, good stories there. The city's food scene has been thriving since 1897. All 4 major pro sports have called Detroit home since 1957.
And actually, I think Philadelphia has a similar setup, but all 4 sports teams play on the same. We'll call it campus. They're within a 2-minute walk of one another. Red Wings and Pistons play at Little Caesars, mm-hmm. Ford Field, and the Tigers, and so it's been a big part of the continued revitalization is having that at the epicenter of the downtown business district.
Yeah, it is definitely a cool city. There's a lot of really great art, mm-hmm. which last time I was in Detroit, I got to experience some of that. Downtown is home to the 2nd tallest hotel in the entire USA.
And we are actually, one of our projects is we are building, it's the largest construction project in the last 50 years. One of our companies is Bedrock, which is urban and downtown business district development. And we will be building a building. It's about 2 years away that is going to rival and may surpass. We'll see what the final architects say, but may surpass that tallest
Oh, that
hotel.
would be cool.
Yeah.
The Detroit Marriott at the Renaissance Center.
Yes. General Motors headquarters.
Yeah. Detroit holds a lot of firsts. First paved road, first individually assigned phone numbers,
Yeah.
first state fair, And the first place an automatic coffee maker was ever used.
I did not know that last one.
Yeah. And last but not least, theater is really, really big in Detroit.
Absolutely.
So it is definitely a cool city. We love it. And there's a lot more to the auto industry, the big three, as you say, to Detroit. So look forward to hearing more about what you're doing in that city to bring more commerce to the city. So now that we've talked about how cool Detroit is and what we have in common, help us understand Rocket Mortgage a little bit more, because from what we talked about, there's so much more.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny in that Rocket Mortgage, and sometimes we'll go Quicken Loans. We're a 37-year-old startup. Our chairman and founder, Dan Gilbert, Detroit kid, went to Michigan State. He delivered pizzas, and he holds the all-time delivery record, evidently.
Caesars?
He claims, no, I don't know who it was. It was a little local. He claims he owns the East Lansing pizza delivery record. But along the way, during the summer, I think of his junior or senior year, he started dabbling in mortgages as a summer hustle. And then that has obviously led to a 37-year adventure. And Dan is just an amazing man in many ways, and the vision he has, and so now we're 37 years, and over the time we've grown. So a lot of times when I have a chance to talk to people about Rocket or Quicken, they think I'm from Cleveland. Dan owns the Cleveland Cavaliers. We had investment there, but Dan is a Detroit guy. And now 37 years later, we have 23,000 team members across the Rocket Company's portfolio. We're actually a larger employer in the city of Detroit than General Motors. We have 100+ companies within our portfolio. We have many fintech brands, which we'll talk about today. And there are investments. I mean, we're talking here multiple times, sneakers are the hottest rage. And, Dan bought StockX 5-6 years ago. And that company, I think when I joined 6 years ago, they had 20 people. Now we're global all over the world. StockX, Shinola, Zenith football helmets, and obviously we have sports entertainment investments as well. A couple media companies, Rob Report, Thesaurus, Gas Station TV. But within the FinTech portfolio, that's our largest areas of investment in that. The street or what have you, people see us as Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, but we're in a very much of a transitional stage right now with our brand and organization. Is how can we be much more than mortgage? And if you follow our story, we are mortgage, personal loans, buying and selling a home, solar, auto financing. We made an acquisition of a really amazing company called Truebill in Q4 of 21. We just rebranded them, Rocket Money, 90 days ago. Personal finance. And when and if we were to ever launch a credit card, T-minus 60 days, that has an amazing rewards and a very stickiness affinity program. I mean, we are really trying to establish ourselves as a fintech. Our mission at Rocket is we want to make sure that we can help deliver and create certainty for our clients' complex life and financial decisions that will help him, her, or they achieve their American dream. And that's what's really exciting, because as a brand, it's Rocket Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage. A year from now, we very well may be on air on a Super Bowl with Rocket. Not just Rocket Mortgage. We did Rocket Mortgage, Rocket Homes last year on the Super Bowl. And so that's where we're going with is how can we be a lender for life? Call it an Amazon model. How can we be a lender and a partner for life, no matter where you may be in your financial journey? Whether you're a younger person coming out of school and you're trying to establish credit, you're trying to, and get yourself home ready. We want to be able to be there for you at the beginning and take you, work with you along the way. I mean, if I were predicting, man, 3 years ago, we weren't in the solar, auto, and credit card business, and we're here now. And so that's what I get really excited. I think we're at another leapfrog transformational moment for our brands that we're going to continue to expand that platform and to help our clients on their financial journey.
That's a really complex message, and Verve Group has a lot of products as well, and I know how challenging it is to have a concise message, educate, brand, and drive the value proposition, right? So how are you going to market to communicate this? Yeah,
great question. So when I started 5 years ago, our brands, it literally started at the ground level in that at the time, everything was Quicken. And the only thing that was Rocket Mortgage. So we made a decision to start we looked at the brand architecture, and we made the decision to go everything Rocket. So for 3 years, we worked on brand architecture and the structure of how the brands look, feel. We were schizophrenic with brands all over the place. And then we made the decision to take the company name. It was Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, and we started to, if you will, sundown the Quicken Loans brand, and then transition fully, company name and brand to Rocket Mortgage in 19. And so now everything within our fintech portfolio is Rocket. And so you think about that equity of mortgage, homes, loans, money, credit card, whatever it might be. It's the power of the Rocket. We've spent Rocket Mortgage, sometimes you have to remind yourself, the Rocket Mortgage brand is only 6 years old. It launched in the 2016 Super Bowl. There's been a ton of investment behind that, make no mistake. And so there's a lot of equity in that brand, so how do we continue to leverage that brand? So that's where a conversation is going to be a lot different with clients in the future, of which, at the end of the day, we want to approach a client as Rocket, because we don't know we may not know where you are in your financial journey. It's not just about mortgage. You may not be ready, or maybe you have different needs. And so we want to make sure, how can we help you with any of our portfolio of product services within the Rocket portfolio along your financial life.
So you must have taken on a lot of internal alignment and acceptance of that vision, right? So kudos to you to do that. 3 years is a long time.
I'll never forget, we spent about a year working on the logo. And when you present the logo to a chairman that's founded the company, you can imagine the emotion that goes into it. And we got it down to like 4 logos, right? We're a year and a half into it. I'll never forget, we went outside of his office, big glass like this, and we printed oversized, and we put it all out there, and I'm sweating, couldn't sleep the night before. I'm pitching the chairman like the next 20 years of this company, right? And I've only been here 2 months, and we'll call it, a year. And I'll never forget, he frickin' walked out of his room. He walked out of the room, and he kind of did this. He goes like that, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, that's it? Like, we're going? Like, you realize we're not turning back here? And but that's just that's just a testament to our chairman, but certainly our company and our culture. I mean, we move at the speed of the game. Put the plane in the sky. It can be maddening at times, make no mistake. But after spending 25 years in automotive, it's been a big shift for me to join an organization that moves so fast, agile. Our foundational values are what we call our isms, and one of our isms is like, we'll figure it out. And that is such a mentality at our place. And it's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. What did you learn from it, and go? If you're going to make a mistake, make it one quick, learn, and get back at it.
So did you pick your favorite logo?
It was in the top. It was in my top 2. I was actually shocked the one he went with. It's like anything else. You show like the go-to. You show that we could land here, and then you have a couple throwaways that you pray to God they don't like, because then you're gonna have to maybe unsell it. Right. But we landed at a great spot, and very, very proud of the work that we did. I mean, it was 2 years just to get to but you're laying the foundational groundwork for ideally more than a decade. So the work that needs to go into it can't just be done haphazardly.
Towards the bigger vision, the platform
yes, absolutely.
vision.
And again, when we did the logo, we weren't in the auto, solar, personal finance space. So what we had to think about is we expand the Rocket brand. Where could we be 5, 10, 15 years from now, and start to think, no different how we had Uber Eats up here, and I could imagine that was probably the same conversation. Like, wait a minute, we're getting into food delivery, and how's that going to work? So now we've got that foundational groundwork as how do we, as we continue to expand the brand under the Rocket umbrella.
Cool. So we're here at Brand Innovators.
Yeah.
This is a great conference, great content. It's been a great event. It's all about sports.
Mm-hmm.
So why sports for Rocket Mortgage?
Why sports? So a couple things. One is we'll talk about Super Bowl. We're blessed in that we're a 24/7, 365 advertiser. And sports for us is generally, we'll call it 30-40% of our spend for a couple reasons. One is, we'll also talk about some of our growth with diversity and multicultural audiences. But sports for us, obviously, from we'll call it at the macro level, at the top of the funnel, in mass media, in the crazy, insane world that we live in. You and I are pretty busy, and I always share, like, I consume 30 to 40% more content because of the magic piece of glass that I carry in my pocket 24/7. And so, but at the end of the day, and we saw this with the pandemic, of which you saw consumption habits change quite a bit. Obviously, when there was no sports, when the pandemic first hit, we literally changed our media plan on the dime. We didn't have any more sports, and we'll call it 30-40% of our spend gone. dark. And so we pivoted our spend there, but as we saw sports start to come back, maybe not in person, but from a streaming standpoint, esports was one of the first ones. And as we saw the majors start to go and you saw the viewership start to shift, but at the end of the day, right, even though you and I a little more seasoned, my 12-year-old will never know, TiVo or it's time for Wapner, right? And so, but none of us like to, as much as we try, there's no way you can time shift or avoid sports or news. And so what a great way. And then obviously as you think about growth, the way to lean in, and one of the things I really enjoy about the work that we do in sports with Rocket is it's not about being culturally relevant, it's about leaning in, being contextually relevant. And that's what we really strive to do. And working with partners, whether it's in the PGA Tour, NFL, NCAA, esports, the list goes on and on. One of the reasons people ask, like, why? And I was like, well, there's an opportunity to, one is you're tapping into what we call cultural moments, and when folks are more apt to be leaning in, but also you're able to borrow equity from one another along the way. Equity of a mark, an athlete, programming, whatever it might be, to help tell a shared story.
So you lost 30 to 40% of your brand association at a time where the housing industry went kind of crazy, right?
I'll never forget the week when we all moved home, which we'll call it March 20th, somewhere around there. And then you had a president and a governor of New York, you throwing around words like deferment, and maybe you don't have to pay your mortgage. You could imagine the fucking amount of phone calls that came into Rocket Mortgage saying, well, I don't know, but our governor just said I may not have to pay our mortgage, and we had to explain to them we're not a bank. That was absolutely insanity. And then, obviously the moves that were made to continuously stimulate the economy, and we saw interest rates that we have not seen in a generation. And obviously, we doubled down mortgage origination. We doubled from 20 to 21, and we went up another 10, 15% in 22. And then it was a great run, an amazing run. And we started to see an anticipated softening of the market rolling into 22. Nicole Seabury Henry's here with me with our multicultural team. And, as I remember, as we were pitching our 22 Upfronts, I tell this story in that we were sharing our vision for the Upfronts on 22 in, we'll call it July of 21. And we started this conversation, and we're like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, we were forecasting and seeing that 22 was going to be more challenging. Now, there were things obviously we didn't anticipate, an invasion and, continued supply shortages. We have now seen the highest rate of inflation in 40 years. Interest rates that we have not seen in a decade or two, right? So obviously it creates some challenges in the refi market, but obviously home values continue to rise, equity in home. We've seen some softening, if you will, relative softening. I think some of the stupidity of the homes going up and 50 bids overnight and everything's way over list, that's starting to soften a little bit in a lot of in the market. So it's still a great time. I've bought 5 homes in my life, and I look back and I'm like, okay, when I bought in 97 and 01 and 10, guess what the interest rates were then? Like 6, 7, 8, and I was okay. I figured it out. And so, what we're focused on is, one is continuing to expand our platform so we can help clients wherever they may be, but also writing as much purchase business as we can and get laser focused on that, because there will be another time, right? Is like in a lot of our businesses, in the auto industry, right? We're trying to get a lot of cars burning gas because there's going to be a lot of lessee returnees in a couple of years, right? As interest rates come down, if you're financing 6, 7, 8%, whatever it might be, and hopefully, end of 23, beginning of 24, and you see that interest rate, man, that's a lot of business that we can start and continue to generate with refinance. So it's been challenging, make no mistake.
And so your association with sports it becomes a platform for you to communicate the bigger picture of Rocket and how you can connect with those consumers at specific points in their life, moments in their life, right? And get that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times, if you think about it, we're not a franchisee model. I always use automotive because that's the lowest hanging fruit for me. So we're not a franchisee model. But when we have a sports partnership, we like to look at a full funnel. Certainly, at the top of the funnel, an awareness and consideration and brand opinion. Certainly that is one of our main KPIs. But as we enter into any partnership, and you look at them here, whether it's the NFL, a team, athletes, we have 25 schools, including HBCU schools and some other partnerships, we take a full funnel approach. So yes, there's that top of the funnel. How do you have that awareness, positive opinion consideration, but also middle of funnel, and even getting down to our B2B partnerships and relationships with brokers, and certainly our team members. One of the things that is really important to us is that we make sure we are able to offer a great team member experience via our partnership. So when we approach it, yes, there's an investment, but it's also activating it full funnel, even down to servicing clients. I mean, nothing sounds more amazing as when you call a servicing client that, you service their mortgage and you offer them a trip or an opportunity to the Rocket Mortgage Classic or an NFL game or whatever it might be. And so that's our thought process, is how do you activate any of these equity partnerships all the way through, from top of the funnel down to acquisition and loyalty.